All right, everyone. The other day, Donald Trump came out and he's like, well, I'm going to sign an executive order. This is him, musing about what he's going to do in the future, vowing to sign an executive order that will remove federal money from colleges and universities, public colleges and universities, if they do not defend free speech. I approve of this strongly, and I'll tell you why. If taxpayers are funding or subsidizing an edifice, it should be understood to be under at least some of the auspices of the Constitution. It just simply makes sense. By the way, Marsh versus Alabama, even a fully privatized group that becomes sort of a cohesive, must-utilize system can be bound to the same. It's like that was about a company town, and some, I guess, a Jehovah's Witnesses was distributing literature. They tried to stop them, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that because you've become a community. If anyone within that community still, just by being part of that community for work reasons doesn't mean they cede their constitutional rights to a corporation. I approve of this for two reasons. Number one, if taxpayers are funding something, then equal protection and the First Amendment, and to some degree the Second and Fourth, should apply even to private edifices. If you don't want to do that, if you want to censor what people read, what people say, what people do beyond, criminal elements and so forth, then you should not be taking taxpayer money. There's no legitimate reason to. It's just like stripping federal money or state money or something from businesses that engage in religious haranguing. That's been done. From businesses that, in many cases, it's the left championing such things. Well, they're not treating people properly, so we're going to remove money. We're going to use that as sort of as a carrot and stick situation. You can have the money, but you have to conform to some basic principles. The left has done this many times. This is a Democratic tactic, not a Republican one. It's going to be funny to see the ACLU having to sue over preventing free speech, which they probably will. And that really is what they'll cast it off as, well, no, Trump is talking about hateful, bigoted, intolerant rhetoric because he loves it. No, what it's really about is free speech. It's still speech. There's no such thing as hate speech within our legal statutes. It doesn't exist. It's just a stand-in term for any form of speech that targets an individual or group for criticism that people on the left happen usually not to like. That's really what it's about. It's going to be funny to see them have to argue against free speech. By the way, there's a second reason. If he manages to do this and it sticks, because people will be reluctant. I think even in all honesty, I think they'll be a little bit more reluctant to fight him on this because it's such an obviously good idea. What you may see is an extension of this towards the tech world, and that's what I would encourage Trump to do. Don Jr., especially his son, I think younger son, has been instrumental in sort of, making people aware, yes, there is a systemic bias in Silicon Valley against conservatives. I wish that he would go beyond that and point out that it's really just anyone who's not far left. There's no dichotomy of liberal and conservative, at least not anymore. Maybe 20 years ago there was more of a clear-cut thing. Liberals, conservatives, they overlap some, but they got some of these issues on the side that differentiate them. Not really anymore. It's more like the authoritarian extreme far left here, then the corporate neocons and neoliberals that form the vague, muddled establishment, and then you've got both the libertarian and more authoritarian sides of the new right, and that's really the spectrum that you have today. It's almost four poles. It looks bipolar on its surface, but that's only because all the corporate shills and sellouts are in the middle, basically taking the worst of both of the other sides and incorporating it into themselves, minus the high tax rates or something for their corporate buddies. You could extend this to the tech world, though, because remember, Silicon Valley's giants get huge amounts of subsidies, mostly from the state of California. They get money, taxpayer money, thrown at them left and right. California already has, within its legal system, they've extended equal protection to political affiliation. In fact, I think they might be the only state that actually does that. They're the ones that pioneered that. And yet, the taxpayers of California are subsidizing groups that make enormous amounts of money just to keep them in the state, to shelter them from the state's own extremely high in-state tax rates, which is here you've got a bunch of supposedly far-left Democrats literally colluding with the largest corporations in the country to keep them from paying taxes just so they won't leave a high-tax state, and then these same people are rambling about the rich paying their fair share. Bullshit. I like Amazon, they make me a lot of money, but ultimately, no, they don't pay their fair share. Because the politicians, and it's not their fault, they're taking advantage of loopholes that the politicians in this country allow them to have. And you think that both Sanders will stop it? No, he won't. Because Sanders would never have the will of Congress to do so. It's the problem of Congress. Trump probably would plug those loopholes too. He'd love to see small businesses roar ahead because it'd be great for the middle class. He'd get reelected with a standing ovation from even people center-left, but he can't do that. Because he knows not to bother proposing it because Congress will stand in the way. Trump could come out tomorrow and say, well, I think we need to get rid of Citizens United. It's not right that corporations are deciding elections. Hey, I was grassroots funded and self-funded. I didn't take corporate money other than some PACs that were donating to themselves. I didn't take any of their money. I didn't do like Hillary did and beg for $5,000 plate sort of meals with Goldman Sachs or anything. But he wouldn't get through Congress. It'd be DOA. Because most of those people in Congress get money from those corporations. They don't want to give it up, especially the Democrats. He should, by the way, front that. I suggested this. He should poison the Democratic movement in two ways. Suggest ending the drug war, and I mean in a big way, to totally stall them out, make them look like they're far right on the issue. That'd be funny. There's your youth vote. And number two, challenge them on Citizens United. Make a big deal of it. Make it a main platform for your re-election bid. Say, look, it's about time. Corporate money screwed with, look at the Democrats. They're a mess and stuff. He could do this. And it would show all of the younger, like, further left people, yeah, indeed, the Democrats are the corporate party now. It'd be funny. But I want him to go after tech censorship because really, part of the reason Trump was elected was a juggernaut rising zeitgeist of online independent commentary, of people like myself, people who have large audiences. We speak, in some cases every single day, often on political issues. It's not just politics, it's not just sociopolitics, but that's a large part of it. The new independent content creation of the alt media is largely political. Political, current events, sometimes science analysis of that kind of disasters, current events related to that war, certainly, which isn't always political, although it usually is. It's that, and it's largely on board with Trump. It was funny because VidCon, I think, gave $1,000 to, like, what was it, Steve Shives the other day, and he's like a really, really far left sort of figure on YouTube with a middling channel. He's got like 70,000 subs and stuff, and it got totally ratioed. And it was funny because it's like, oh, he undauntedly talks about edgy issues. It's like, what are we doing, and we get suppressed for doing that? Is it because we're on the other side of a so-called political spectrum that doesn't even really exist? Yeah, I think so. But Silicon Valley takes the same subsidies that the schools in college that the schools do. It's like if you were to tell students, like in a high school, you can't have certain beliefs, you can't express certain things, even if you're like not on campus at the time. They've gotten in trouble, and the left has attacked them for that. Especially with regards to activism. I remember like years and years ago there were cases. Some students, they do a walkout for gay rights or abortion or something, they get in trouble for it, or they get talked down by their school. And the liberals, the ACLU and stuff, say, no, they have free speech. You have the right to speak. They have a right to protest, even though that's not entirely cut and dry with people that are under the age of 18 in the country. The age of majority is 18. By the way, when you suggest letting 16-year-old votes, you're suggesting letting them go and buy guns. That would be a very interesting Supreme Court case. I support it. Yeah, let the 16-year-old vote, and then let him go and buy an AR-15 immediately afterwards. I think it's a great idea. Get them used to defending themselves while they're young, and get rid of all the duty to retreat laws in the country. Then we'd have a better world. We need 1,000 times as many guns. People should have like 100 guns apiece. It'd be so great. It's easily obtainable. But anyway, you could extend this to colleges and universities, definitely. And I'm not sure executive order really sticks in that framework, but it's a good suggestion. And again, it will be funny to see the Democrats arguing against free speech, and they'll say, well, it's intolerant speech stuff. And Trump will go on and say, no, not necessarily. Some of these people are getting in trouble for things that have nothing to do with bigotry or anything like that, even if you do take it on a token that sort of thing matters. By the way, tokenism, now a national debate for no reason because of Ilhan Omar and AOC, race baiting and pandering to people, proclaiming that you're racist if you have just, a black friend or something, and you say, well, I'm not racist. So if you say you're not racist, you're racist. You try to give examples you're racist. Basically, you can't win. You're a racist anyway. You're a horrible person. Pay those reparations. That's about all. Peace out.